Hey everybody, Pithy here. I'm starting a new golf course, and I thought what I would try and do is stream as much of this as possible, and I will try and upload all the videos to YouTube. We'll see how many videos it takes. It'll probably be a lot. So I'll try and make these about an hour each. I don't know how regular they're going to be, because the time I have to design is pretty sporadic. But I thought I would just go ahead and start here. Um, I have a tentative title, Vernon Hills Country Club. And before I do anything, I just want to talk a bit about the idea I have here. Um, I didn't really want to jump into another contest after the World Cup of Design, so I decided to help run the major contest as the judging coordinator. But um, getting a bunch of seeing a bunch of in progress pics from all my friends. I guess I was starting to feel a little left out. So I want to see if I can make a challenging golf course. And I've never done that before. All my courses have been I've had a couple on Euro, but all the others have been on the lower tours. I've never really had a course that was difficult enough for PGA. So we're gonna see if I can accomplish that. Um, so what kind of course am I trying to build here? Uh, I'm mainly going for something that would be, would come from golf's golden age, so probably sometime before 1930. Um, but it'll be long, probably 74 to 7600 yards long, so that it could actually be difficult enough for the PGA guys. But I'm still imagining kind of a northeastern country club with the fall colors. That's why I'm in the harvest theme here. Mainly because I think the grasses pop a little more in the harvest theme than in the autumn theme. So we're gonna stick with that for now. We can always change it. So the first thing I got to do is, and I should say I have a bunch of ideas sketched out. I don't have the course designed completely on paper, but I have about I'd say 3 pages worth of random sketches and notes to myself for kind of possible elements to include here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and look for golf holes, but I have a few ideas that I'm looking to incorporate, but I'm not going to try and force it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start generating the plot. And the method I'm going to use here, I don't always use this method, but I used it for Saxondale and I thought it worked pretty well, is the Mayday course randomization. Method. So he has that video on YouTube. Should be pretty easy to find. His username is, I believe it's Mayday 91283, or maybe just Jeremy Mayo. But anyway, um, he explains how that method works and why it works and why it's better than just using the auto-gen terrain by the course designer. So I won't bother explaining that. But you can check out that video if you want to see the how and why behind it. So we're going to go ahead and go to the Sculpt Flatten tool. We're going to go to this sharp square, and I'm going to raise it up about, 40 feet. So something like that. And I'm just going to get the edges here. Basically, I just don't want any of that natural water table. I anticipate having some water on this course, but I think it's going to be, I'm just going to use the placed tiles. So now I'll go to the landscape tool. Flatten it, raise it up a little more. Okay. Oh, whoops. Let's get that edge there. I'm probably not going to use the entire plot here, but you never know which sections you're going to use. So I'm envisioning a plot, maybe sort of, just in terms of the shape of the land, sort of like Augusta in terms of global elevation change, where you've got kind of a high area where the clubhouse is, and that's like maybe 180 or so feet above the lowest area of the course, which with Augusta National would be Amen Corner. Um, so I'm envisioning kind of like a low area with a little bit of water in it, where you'd have a few golf holes, maybe on the back nine, or not, depending on what the routing gives us. Maybe a couple creeks coming through, meandering through, and we might work in a few other interesting features as well. So I'm going to go ahead and use the landscape raise tool here. And I'm looking for an elevation change of probably, well, first what I want to do is measure, because I don't want the holes all spread all the way around the plot. I want them kind of confined a little bit so that you can kind of see, it feels a little more intimate. That's just what I want to do with this routing. So I don't want to box myself in too much, but I'm thinking we'll mostly put it within this box here. Actually, come to think of it, let's orient it this way so that we don't come up against the edge of the plot. And obviously, I'm not totally bound by this. I can always wander outside of it if I want to. All right. So we got from this end of the plot to that end of the plot, we've got an elevation change of about 160 feet. And about 120 from this end to that end. It looks like this hill here, right here, is kind of the high point. And it goes down it goes down quite a bit. So we probably don't want to go all the way up onto that hill, because that's going to be a little too big of an elevation drop. So maybe, yeah, something like that. And so what I'm envisioning down here will be sort of our lower sort of Amen Corner part of the property. Okay. So we've got this low area down here. We might have a lake down here that we can route a couple golf holes around. And then we might have the clubhouse like up in a higher elevation, like up here maybe. Right, so I'm going to kind of marking off some space here that we might envision having a lake right there. Now let's throw in a little small scale elevation change here. just to give the ground some random undulation. Evening, Thomas. Okay, so the ground has some, very broad movement like this, and then it also has some some smaller scale stuff. In fact, I think these might be a little too subtle. So I think I'm gonna go over it again and maybe bump up the elevation change a little bit. Let's go up to like 4.5 feet, 5 feet, something like that. Okay, and then what I'm meant to do is change the lighting a bit so I can see these undulations a bit better. So we'll get rid of we'll make the weather clear so that the sun never hides behind clouds on us. We can always obviously change that later, but and then let's lower the lighting just so we can get a better look at some of the undulations here. No, actually, I'm doing a wannabe I think I'm gonna try a wannabe major course here, so this will not be CC appropriate. Okay, so now we just need to find some golf holes up here. So I'm gonna have a few restrictions in place, um, just to kind of get the overall aesthetic I'm going for. I know the clubhouse is going to be on higher ground. Um, so it might be up here somewhere, or it could be up here. So it looks like we've kind of got like some high ground up here, so we'll probably have like you can imagine like an uphill slog to the finish. um, like that. So, hey, Petty. So now I have to try and find some golf holes in front of you guys. Um, so that we got this like low area here. I'm envisioning that might be sort of like a pond. So probably have a couple holes that are adjacent to it. So like maybe like a short par three over the water, for instance. That's kind of one idea I had. In fact, I think this might be a decent green site right here. You can see it's on this little rise, so it'd be easy to just kind of dig the water out like that. So I think that would work pretty well. So there, we found a hole. Tentatively. Okay, so are there any sort of downhill holes that, might be like potentially a first hole or a 10th hole that we can find? So we've kind of down this way, we've got kind of got this area here, and it kind of sweeps out into this broad plain. Um, I think I'm going to raise this a little bit. Um, just to make that downhill a little less abrupt. Just make this whole area a little more hospitable for golf. And then that way there's a little bit more elevation change here. It gives a little more definition to this lake here. And I was kind of envisioning maybe having a couple streams kind of empty into it. Um, maybe if I'm feeling particularly masochistic, I might go doubtful style and have a creek or two that flows downhill. That's one possibility. So just kind of following the land, maybe. We could put a little channel down through here. Like so. Okay, maybe another one. Maybe we could have another one as well, but we'll see. I'm not going to put it in yet though, because I want to see if I can find some more golf holes first. So I got a feeling the clubhouse is either going to be over like up here or over here. Because I don't really want to have to climb all the way back up onto the top of this giant hill there. That's a little too abrupt for what I'm trying to do. So it might be cool to have a hole that kind of plays along the base of it though, and maybe you flatten it up a little bit so that, right, you see you've got this little fall off here. It goes down about 12 feet, so maybe you have a green up here. Like that. And you'd have like an uphill hole, par 4, a par 5. You could have a kind of like an unreachable 3-shotter or just like a punishing long par 4 that's up the hill. Something like that. So that could be like potentially a 9th or an 18th if we decide to put the clubhouse there. Okay. I don't know if we want to just make a straight break that's like 500 yards away. I don't know if we just want to make a straight break for that, for the water hazard or not. I'm actually not used to finding golf holes on this type of generated plot. So so this could be a unique challenge here. Another kind of idea I had was you've got this lake down here. Maybe one of the holes you've got a green like on, we could raise this up a little bit, and you've kind of got like an infinity green looking out over the lake from afar. Because these are all features on a course that I've been looking at. called Somerset Hills. It's one of A.W. Tillinghast's first courses. So um, I actually went so far as to pull the LiDAR data in. The LiDAR data wasn't that great, so I'm not going to like go through with publishing it. But plus, the course is way too short to really be all that fun on TGC. So, uh, but it gave me some ideas. I got to study the greens and everything. So like this is kind of like the 12th, which is like a short par three over the pond. So, uh, so this would be kind of like 14 at that course. But I don't know. I'm gonna give myself a free hand to do anything I want, but that's kind of the aesthetic I'm going for. And I just copped a bunch of ideas of things that I wanna incorporate. So imagining probably both the first and 10th holes will have somewhat downhill tee shots. But this is another possible green site because I think the view would be nice, or we could move it a little further if that works. So and just raise this up, and then you could have a steep fall off over. Um, so if it was like there, say, and we went back here, this would be like a drive and a pitch because it's really downhill unless we play with the elevation a bit. So yeah, that's one possibility. We might have another hole along the lake here, maybe like a short par 4. So yeah, I'm by the time this hour is up, I doubt I'm even gonna have a hole laid out. I'm just gonna have a bunch of ideas kind of scattered about. Some holes might not even get used. So this little plateau here looks interesting. Maybe that's a potential green site. We have like an uphill hole that follows that short par 3. Well, it's uphill 90 feet. I'll have to lower the land or raise the tee box because I think 90 feet's a bit much. But I kind of like the way this green sits up here. That's one possibility. And I'm not sure if that creek is kind of climbing up a little bit too much, so a more realistic routing for it might be more this way. Something like that. All right. So, yeah, I'm not seeing many greens here. I kind of like the character of the land. Maybe the global elevation changes a little too much. So what I might do is just raise this bottom half of the plot by like 20 feet or 30 or so. Just to make this a little more manageable. But yeah, just like when I start most of my project, there's lots of just grasping around, and I wonder if I've forgotten how to design, you know, 4 or 5 times throughout the process until I finally kind of get a little momentum. That's kind of the way most of projects start out for me. So, hello Terry. So, but maybe this could be like kind of like the 12, 13, 14 range, or 13, 14, 15, something like that. If this were on the back nine. Let's see, do we see any other potential uphill hills that, if this were the clubhouse over here, that would work? Yeah, well, that's coming. That's coming. That's the finishing details, Terry. So it could be. I mean, it's uphill, so it doesn't need to be that long if we want it to be tough. But like, I don't know, just for the sake of argument, if this were 17 and this were 18, or maybe that could be 8, this could be 9, something like that. You can kind of have this green sort of benched into the hillside so that the better angle is from over here. So that's we'll pencil that in as a possibility. All right, so those are a few ideas. I think this is probably gonna be a green site just because I think this par 3 is probably gonna be definitely gonna be part of the course. So by definition, we'll have to have a green kind of next to it. So therefore, right here, we might as well make use of this water feature on more than one hole. So that's kind of my reasoning for maybe having it go along this way. Uh, so then we have to get there. So if we make a break for it, from the clubhouse. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, this is the back nine. That's 1,000 yards away, so potentially 3 golf holes. Um, or maybe 2, right? We could do like if you do a long par 5 down the hill, I mean, something like this. And we may need to give ourselves a little more room. We may need to allow ourselves to explore kind of this part of the plot as well. But I just don't want something that's too crazy downhill. Or I don't know, maybe 10 could be a par 3. Yeah, then that's a little awkward if that's the case. I think you need 2 long holes actually. If you had a long par 3 followed by a short par 4, yeah, then you could have a long par 4. 3. That might work. Yeah, this landform looks like it might work well for like a reverse Redan of some kind. And 11 could be like a short par 3 or a short par 4, long par 4, and then another par 4 that goes along the lake, followed by par 3. Yeah, and then we'd probably have to, head out this way, maybe. So that's one possibility. Actually, I made that tee a little too far away. But like, yeah, 344 downhill, that's probably going to be drivable. And then you have a long one that's down the hill. I don't know about having all these 3 all go in the same direction though. I don't know if I like that, because then the wind's always going to be in the same direction. You're going to have 3 straight holes just playing right down the hill. So I think we got to change direction at some point with our routing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those. Okay, and also when you're looking for golf holes, or when I'm looking for golf holes, I haven't really been sticking to that here, but you can always just you don't have to worry about how they're going to connect. You just find them, right? And then you're not going to just realize that you aren't going to use all of them, right? You can make them connect later. So like, what if we want, like, I'm just seeing this little raised land over this, right? Maybe that's a place to put a green, whether it's like a par 3 or or something else. Just because we mark it doesn't mean we have to use it. Right, but maybe we have a long downhill par 4 opening hole. It's kind of a dog leg to the left. And then that could go into this one. And then eventually you kind of find your way back. Right, we go out, we explore around here, and then come back up to here. And that's if this is a par 4. If this is a par 5, then then we got a little more room to play with. And we need to make sure we have space for, to kind of get these holes out here and to come in that way. But yeah, this is a tricky part of working with a hilly plot. It's hard to just, make it so you aren't slogging up the hill for, 3 or 4 straight holes. That's kind of the trick of routing. But this is a potentially interesting green site. Maybe this little rise here is where we could put a green. Maybe have a long par 3 that kind of plays over this valley. Well, 124, that's not very long. I'd have to move the tee back, but somewhere in between those. Something like, yeah, somewhere in there. And this one that'd be slightly downhill, and then you got a significantly uphill par 5. That's probably a 3-shotter. Okay, so we've got a few potential holes. Like I'm kind of set in on this. So like I was saying at the beginning, this is kind of like our amen corner. We've got we'll have this little lake down here, and maybe a stream a stream or two will come into it. Hey Matt, I'm just struggling with a new plot. Every time I start a new one, I wonder if I remembered how to design. It's like I feel like this is a window into my consciousness. Or a window into my soul, as it were. But so I mean, this could be the front 9, could be the back 9, whatever it is. I'm probably gonna have 2 9s looping, so maybe one like this, and then the second one like that. So we've kind of got like 2 dangling strands at the beginning and end of this loop, and then we kind of got maybe something of an end game here. And then we've kind of got like a middle game here. We've got again kind of our so-called A-bend corner here around this what will become a lake. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. For me, it's just coming up with the ideas, and then because I have to have the whole thing routed before I get started. I feel like I have to know what the whole story is going to look like. So we'd have this is a par three there. So we got this is going to be a pretty standard routing. I think I want to have four par threes, two per nine, and then maybe probably two or three par fives. Um, so, but I need to stop stalling here and actually look for stuff. This will probably be the least watched episode of this series, I think. But this is the tough part because it's just sort of. I think sometimes there are multiple ways you can do it. You can kind of just like make a tentative hole and say, okay, where would the next one be? Or you can make one and say, where would the one before it be? Or you can just kind of find one, just out in the middle and say, okay, can we work that one in? And sometimes you can't, which is fine. So I kind of like this little ridge feature here, a little 10-foot rise. That could be something we could incorporate. Um, oh yeah, this was a tentative hole that I. Yeah, this was gonna be a. That was gonna be a hole there. So maybe that'll create some congestion problems. But I kind of like this series of little hills. So maybe, I don't know, this little notch here could be like a potential green site, I suppose. I don't know if I don't want it to be that short, but I don't know. It's a possibility. Again, maybe we don't find a way to make it work, but I think it's clear we need to kind of head out this way, um, because we need to find ourselves room to get down here. So maybe we should just kind of forget about putting a hole there for now. But yeah, maybe, I mean, since it's so far downhill, you could just have like an ultra long par 4. Like 530 or something. And I think just to open up some space here, we might make it a little dogleg right. And you can kind of cut the corner over this little low area maybe. That is one possibility. So like if that, let's just say this were 10. And then you'd have kind of another downhill hole here. I don't know, you could do that. Although if this is going to be a long par 4, and then you got this par 3, well, I guess this one's kind of like a, we don't have to, there's nothing says we have to start it here at 400 yards away, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this just because I think we're going to have a green there, but the tee position is kind of immaterial. But you could go kind of like 10, 11, and 12, and then 13 coming back this way, 14, 15, and then 16 up here maybe. We're missing a par 3 at that. We're missing a par 3 somewhere if we do that. Alright, so maybe this is 10. '11 could kind of play back up this way, maybe. Maybe it's like a par 3 that plays onto this little landform here. Again, just to make it so we're not playing in one direction every, for like several holes in a row. I don't want it to be just one unbroken stretch of dead downhill holes. Alright, and then maybe 12 is like a shortish par 4. And then 13 would be, yeah, it'd be a dog leg, so, kind of a medium length par 4 around the lake. So there's an option for us. So that would make this 13, 14, 15. Well, I mean, this could be 15. It might not be. It might not be what we want to do. Maybe 14, 15. Well, kind of. If this is 17, and this doesn't have to be 17, but I do like the green site here. Like, I'll probably raise this up so that you got this nifty infinity green, and then you'll have a nice view over the lake before you head back up towards the clubhouse with the 18th, like that. Okay. So if this is a par 4, it's a par 3. Par 4, par 4, par 3. So we gotta have a par 5 in here somewhere. So maybe like this could be a par 5, or the one after it, I suppose, could be. So maybe I don't know if I'm tempted to go out there and then there, but then I got this big, I kind of want to keep the routing reasonably tight. And we can always lower the land here too if it's too ridiculously uphill, right? It's like uphill 94 feet, so we can always moderate this a little bit. So just lower it like 37 feet. Right. Plus this hole was, as it was pretty downhill, so. And again, I probably shouldn't, I don't want to marry myself to these tee locations. But then we can also raise this so we have a little bit of a steeper bank next to that water. So that's uphill 70 feet. Alright, so that would be okay. And again, I like this green site. The angle we come in isn't necessarily super important. But tentatively, we've got 13, 14, 15, 16 coming up in here somewhere, 17, 18. I think I told myself I wanted this course to be really long, and I'm just realizing now it's probably it's not even gonna crack 7,000 yards. So there will be some revisions to this routing for sure. So yeah, that's uphill. Maybe we just play up here towards the edge of the plot. So that would be par 4. Then we'd need a par 5. So maybe something out there, and we can just kind of freeform that. And then, well, we can move that tee up. I don't know, maybe it's a long par 4. We can always move it up. But yeah, I think that 6970. Yeah. I think the longest course I've ever designed is like I don't think I've designed a course above 7,200 yards. And I've been designing since the beginning of TGC2 really. So, but we can always let it out at the edges and everything because we're just gonna. I like to have a lot of things laid out and planned out before I start. Before I start really, going crazy. So this could be again 15, 16, 17, 18, and so we've kind of got like a tentative back 9 here. So we may be getting somewhere. We tentatively had wanted a creek to maybe come into play on the back. So we'll obviously have to do some land modification if we want to make that happen. Maybe we kind of lower this land, make a little channel here for this to run up, and then it kind of comes into play on this, on this tee shot here. So it kind of bisects the creek, kind of bisects the fairway. If we wanted to do that, we'd probably raise this teeing area up so that you're not hitting uphill to a creek, which isn't doesn't feel very natural, but we can do that. Okay, so we've kind of got a very tentative back nine routing, I think. Um, and then we've kind of got a few ideas for how the front nine's going to start and finish. So I think the next episode um, will be kind of roughing in some ideas for the rest of the front nine, and then maybe doing a little more fiddling with the plot, um, and rough in some other features we want to see, um, and then maybe build a golf hole? Question mark. But we'll see. So it's been almost an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off. Again, my streaming schedule is kind of sporadic, but I'm going to try and upload all these to YouTube. Um, and when I do that, I'll create a whip thread in the forums and put links to the videos if folks want to follow along. So um, that does it for this first episode. Talk to you later.